I think you can kick it off, Louise.
Okay, great. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are in Canada. I'm Louise Barabee from nabs, and I'm very pleased to introduce you today to Victoria Senyard. She is Togetherall's Partnership Manager, where she works with Togetherall's partners like nabs to effectively implement and promote Togetherall as part of a broader mental health strategy to support employees and members. She has worked in the field of workplace mental health and organizational development for over a decade and holds a master's of organizational psychology from the University of Queensland. Originally from Australia, Victoria has called Vancouver home for the past 7 years. So welcome everyone, and welcome Victoria.
Thank you. Thanks, Louise. And yeah, thanks for those that are able to join today. We are recording the session too, so that we can share this around for those that maybe weren't able to attend. So if you have any colleagues as well, fear not, you'll get a recording and hopefully you can pass that along. So thank you very much. We thought we'd kick things off right at the beginning and just really start at the beginning, give you a bit of an understanding of what is Togetherall, how it came to be brought to nabs. And then I'll also flip over to the platform itself to show you in real time some of the features, some of the nuances that maybe aren't as obvious and that you can pass that along. And then the ultimate ask here is really just, check it out for yourselves. You can register anytime. It is free to join, and then help spread the word to others so that they know that this is a resource that's available to them. So starting at the beginning, you'll see at the top right-hand side here, this is sort of in a nutshell how we describe our offerings. So we provide a moderated online peer-to-peer mental health community that empowers individuals to anonymously seek and provide support 24/7. So unpacking that a little bit further, you can see a few things should jump out at you. It is a peer-to-peer mental health community, so peers supporting other peers. It is an online environment, but it is moderated for safety, and it's a place where individuals can anonymously come and share their lived experiences with common mental health concerns. So they're not only seeking support, they're also providing support to others that may be in a similar situation. It's available 24/7 and it is sponsored by nabs. So that means that it's free to all nabs members in Canada and the US to be able to access this offering. You can register through this custom link, togetherall.com/joinnow/nabs. And from there, you'll able to access all of the tools. It's a 5-minute odd setup of your account, and then you have access from there on in. In terms of what is on offer once you register, these are some of the key takeaways. So the backbone here is this safe online community, again, where individuals remain anonymous to each other and they can draw strength and insights from others. The platform is not only accessible 24/7, it's also active 24/7. And by that, I mean, we have not just nabs members using this platform, but we operate across the UK, Canada, US, and New Zealand, and have lots of different contracts with different organizations, government bodies, higher education institutions, all sorts of different groups have all commissioned with us. And so their eligible members are also contributing to this same platform. So it means it's a global peer base. And the beauty of that is that you have all sorts of people from different walks of life, backgrounds, perspectives, again, all coming together to sort of share around these common experiences. Key piece here that makes us different to other online communities is this safety element. So the whole platform and everything that is sort of within this offering is moderated by registered mental health practitioners who we call our wall guides. And they're there to ensure the individuals that are using the platform are kept safe and feel supported in this online environment. I'll go into a little bit more detail about those wall guides, but that's just that extra eyes on, that safety net as well, just to make sure that, this is a place that remains safe to all. In addition to that community forum piece where peers are interacting with other peers, we also have a hub of other wellness and mental health related resources. So things like mini clinically validated self-assessments that they can do, recommended resources and self-guided courses, and just a bunch of other creative tools so that members really have a choice in choosing, what works for them and things that they can benefit from in their mental health journey. Key piece here to remember is that we're not a counseling service. So we're not providing one-on-one counseling or therapy of any kind, nor are we intended to be a crisis service. So it's a little bit more broad than that. It's a little bit more general around general common concerns. Whoops. Don't know what happened there. There we go. So in terms of who we think this type of support is best suited to, we're really taking that broader population approach to mental health. So we're looking at those employees, those members that, maybe have no current mental illness, but perhaps a need for direction, guidance, support, resources, through to those that have mild to moderate level of mental illness, but still a lower level of need for intervention. So again, with the state of the world, we know there are a lot of people that may be cut off from their existing support mechanisms. Their families are feeling overwhelmed, juggling work, home life, stress, anxiety, all of those things, which are very common, very normal. That's the group that could do with maybe a little bit of extra support right now. And this is something that they might gravitate towards. A little bit more about those wall guides. So as I mentioned, they are providing 24/7 service moderation and escalation. So they are registered mental health practitioners that are licensed and registered to practice in the different jurisdictions in which they're based. So by that, I mean we have wall guides spread across Canada, as well as UK, US, and New Zealand. Everywhere we operate, we have a wall guides presence. And they're typically from the backgrounds of clinical counselling or masters in social work. And the three primary roles that they're playing, they are staff members of Togetherall, is safety is the big one. So ensuring our members understand the parameters of the tool, how the program works, maintaining anonymity in an online environment, and also keeping an eye out for behavior or indications that a member might be more vulnerable or at risk. And this is where the technology helps us, in that we have inbuilt algorithms within the platform itself that help draw attention to these kinds of behaviors, posts, words that are being used to help draw attention and put that in front of the wall guides for a clinical review. So a couple of things can happen. More commonly, if someone, for example, was disclosing too much personal information, our wall guides are able to actually take that level of detail out, while at the same time reach out to the member to say, hey, remember, we don't use real names and too personal information in this online environment. We need to remove that. The rest of your post is fine. So they can sort of do a bit of a curation piece as well. If someone is using words that are going to be picked up by our trigger algorithms, so words like self-harm, suicide, and we've built up a very robust list over the 12, 13 years we've been operating, that would also then be reviewed by the wall guide to look at not only that post, but also that sort of member as a whole to see, is this a bit of a pattern? Are we seeing a bit of an escalation here? Is this out of the blue? They would reach out to that member directly to check in with them and check in to see sort of that level of risk. They do that sort of clinical review and work with that member. They're able to signpost other helpful resources, both within Togetherall and within that are existing with nabs. So for example, your support line and your LifeSpeak resources. And if we are worried about imminent risk, we work with that member to de-anonymize further and to connect with local emergency services to do that in-person wellness check. Actually doesn't happen that often, again, because we don't position ourselves as a counseling tool or a crisis intervention tool, but the mechanisms are there in place so that if we do come across a member that we're worried about, we can support them further. The more general roles that the wall guides are playing is one that we sort of bucket as vibrancy. So this is this idea that, welcoming new members to the platform, thanking them for sharing their story, helping to facilitate discussion and keep discussions moving, promoting that self-care and resiliency. And again, that sort of navigation and education piece. So signposting other relevant resources that might be helpful to members. So I'll switch over to the platform itself, and then hopefully this will all make sense. Before I do, a couple of quick quotes here from our member base that I think are really nice and really help ground, what we're all about at Togetherall. The top one is saying, the members on here are amazing. I've realized I'm not alone, and actually helping others in my position helps me feel like I have something to give. So that's sort of that two-way support mechanism. And the bottom, this resonates with me as well, even that on good days, I can support others. And on bad days, when I need supporting, I can find information to understand how to deal with it. So it's a resource that sits there as you need it, use it as you need it, no sort of pressure at all. So if we go to the website, now you have that custom registration link again, so Togetherall/join-now/nabs. I already have an account, so I've created my account. So I'm going to skip that step of creating an account, but it is very easy. It'll prompt you when you register. It'll prompt you through the questions that we collect, and then you will have access to this same platform. So we're all coming in from different sort of entry points, but we're all coming to this same global platform. Part of what you do when you set up an account is set up an anonymous username. And so you can see here, this is how I'm seen to other members within the platform. As a new member, you would also receive a welcome email and a welcome message from our wall guides that sort of thank you for joining, orient you to how to find things within the platform, explain some of those terms and conditions. But I can always reach out to them proactively as well down here via this chat and reach out to them if I have any additional questions. 3 main buckets of resources, deliberately meant to be intuitive and easy to walk through. So we'll start with the community portion. So this is where peers are interacting with other peers around all sorts of different topics. So you can see here, each of these represents a different thread or a different discussion that's happening. And you can see so many different topics, coming through. And this is what I mean about it being really active site. So again, you can see this post was 11 minutes ago, 14 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago. So constantly new content coming through. A couple of ways to filter this content to find the topics you might be interested in. You can filter by these category tags. You can have sort of the general broad ones, and then we have some more specific ones here if you really want to drill down, COVID-19, body image, cultural identity, gender identity, money management, student experience, stress, working from home, all sorts of different things that you can then tick these off, and it'll filter that content and bring up those posts where people have used these tags to describe their particular conversation. Other way to filter this content is by the type of post. So we have a couple of different options here. A talk about is a written thread and a brick is a visual thread. And the brick is really good for those that maybe are more creative or struggle to articulate themselves, sort of would rather represent it in sort of visual terms. So they can actually express themselves creatively, and it's just a different mechanism for people to open up and share. As you find things that you're interested in following, you can star them, and then they become part of the threads that you're following along with. You can play around with your accounts within the platform to be notified if there's new comments on something you're following, or you can play around and say, I'd rather be emailed and let me know if there's new comments. So you have that sort of right. And then you can see these are just a few examples, and I'll pull up a couple of ones so we can look at. But you can see there's things around parenting teens, there's going back to school, there's higher ed, struggling through the pandemic. There's parents, I'll click into this one actually. This is a dad with a newborn, and just a sort of a general life stressor that this is Mr. This was created a couple months ago, and they've just said, I've just become a parent, I'm lacking confidence. My partner ends up doing the majority of the work, and I find myself, finding a distraction. I feel so inadequate. I don't, as soon as he cries, my instinct is to hand them over to the partner. I don't know if other new parents have felt this kind of anxiety before. Is it just me? Am I just stupid? I just feel like I can't help. And of course, this is our wall guide. This is part of their response, is that they would always respond to someone, thank them for sharing their experience, reflect some of that same sentiment, and encourage others to weigh in if they've had similar experiences. And of course, then you get other members sort of saying, congratulations, but absolutely, I've had 2 children, and this is perfectly normal. Everyone feels like this early on. You're not meant to know what to do. It is tricky. And you get other people saying the same thing of, it's normal for fathers in particular to sort of have this anxiety. And so it sort of goes backwards and forwards. Lots of people sort of chiming in around their experience. So just a simple example. Other ones we have here, again, you have not only students, but we have frontline lecturers that on that side of the fence are feeling just as overwhelmed. People coming out for the first time, getting advice on how to do it and, what's it going to be like. Just people feeling isolated, particularly given the state of the world and cut off from family. A lot of sort of relationship based. So you can see here 37 comments when someone's saying they just feel like roommates and not parents anymore. So many different topics. There's sort of no limit to it, and it really is very fascinating, sort of the comments that are coming through. I'll open another one. This is an example of a brick. So this is someone that's used that creative function to draw this, and then they have the option of adding commentary, and this person has. So this one sort of, I'll read out a couple of the pieces here that's saying, I feel like I'm lost in a fog. I don't know why I'm feeling this way, especially with the state of the world. I'm having trouble getting out. I'm usually a bubbly, happy person, constantly creative, ready for adventure, and they just feel like their anxieties are really bringing them down. They've lost their motivation, they've lost their creativity. This sort of anxiety is really playing on them. They're trying to do some things. They're trying to do some of this meditation and breathing. They're working with a doctor, and they do have sort of chatting to their friends. But there's only so much they can do, and they feel like they're a bit of a broken record, and they don't want to feel like a burden to their loved ones. So their friend suggested reaching out for therapy, but they're not quite ready to do something like that. But then they found this site, and now they're hoping to be able to find others that are going through something similar. And so again, sort of a really creative, without the caption, you can kind of make up what you think this represents. And then with that caption, it sort of really adds that additional layer to it. And again, you have people sort of saying like, thanks for reaching out, and I can relate to pieces of this. Here's what, I've had anxiety before, and this is what, it means to me. I appreciate hearing from someone else that's experiencing this. I was comforted by this. It makes me feel like I'm not the only one. And you do get a lot of that sentiment, regardless of the topic. It's always that idea of, does anyone else feel like this? I don't know who else to turn to. I don't know who to talk to, that kind of piece. So people are searching for that connection and searching for that validation that, yes, this is okay, and I'll get through it. One more example. This one's a little bit of a darker one, and I deliberately want to pull this up as an example. So again, this is someone that's used that brick function to draw how they're feeling. And then the sentiments here, you can see, they're saying, I can't find anything to overcome that loneliness feeling. I had a conversation with a friend. I just burst into tears. Everyone else around me seems to be doing so well, and I'm happy for them, but I don't see my future in bright colors anymore. I'm afraid I'll end up in that mental frustration black hole forever. I thought about self-harming, but I don't want to go there, not again. So you can see here the sentiment is very different in conjunction with sort of this piece here. And so our response is different too. So again, we're saying, thanking them for opening up and being honest and having that, seeking that help. That's at least, now they're on our radar. But we're also saying, hey, we're going to reach out to you directly in case you need a little bit of extra support. We're listening and we're here for you. So because of some of this wording and this sentiment, this person is now on our radar, and we've reached out to them to check in to see what that sort of level of risk is. The great thing though is you still see people weighing in and sort of really honing in on that idea of, I'm stuck in this mental frustration, black hole. I don't know how to break out of it. And you see the original poster interacting with people, which is a really good sign, right? You have people kind of reflecting on, yeah, I've been in that depression, and this is what's worked for me. This is how, like, some really practical things that I've tried to do just to break up my routine, all this. And then you have that original poster saying, yeah, I don't really know who I can talk to. It really sucks. When you realize you're alone, this is why I'm here. And so again, you have sort of people weighing in and giving that support. So now this person has an avenue, at least something that they feel comfortable reaching out and getting some help. So they're just some examples. Again, new content coming through all of the time. So this is that community portion piece. If we go back to the main dashboard, I'll just talk about these pieces. So courses, these are all self-help modular-based courses that people can enroll in and complete in their own time. Lots of different topics here that you can see. The great thing about these is there's sort of no time pressure. You can work through them at your own pace. Each of the modules includes different little activities, homework exercises, content, links to interesting articles, all sorts of different things, a little online journal. I think this one has a little goal setter to use. And then they each have a course talk about. And what that is a group discussion that I can also choose to join to connect with others that are doing this same course or that have completed this same course. And again, sort of bond over this particular topic. Maybe there's a great book that I've read that I found really helpful that I would recommend to others. Still moderated and seen by the wall guides, just a different type of resource and a different way for people to connect with each other. And then the last bucket here is our resources. So you've got those same little online journaling goal setting tool that people can do. These are the mini clinically validated self-assessments, not meant to be diagnostic by any means, but just sort of mini check-ins based on things like the PHQ-9, GAD-7 for depression, anxiety. Again, wall guides would see the results of these. So if someone was constantly scoring high, they could also reach out and just check in. And then our last section here is our articles. And it's actually not just articles, it's book reviews, podcast reviews, all sorts of different things, still organized by those same category tags. So someone can really drill down basically this whole site into what they're interested or what they don't want to see as well. So some might know that they have particular triggers. They can actually filter that out so they don't see that content as well. This is where we would also, when you register as a NABS member, this is where we would also have a tile that would have your support line and the live speak resources. So it's kind of all put in front of you in the same place. Back on the main dashboard, so my account settings are up the top there that I can play around with. The house rules, member terms, privacy, feedback, all of that good stuff is sort of in the footer there. And sort of that's it. That's sort of the crux of it. I'll flip back over to the presentation itself. And where I want to sort of take this next before we open up to some questions is just to share a little bit of data. So across our book of business, just some high level stats on, what we're seeing. So the usage of this platform really varies depending on the organization, depending on their uptake of mental health resources, depending on the promotion, or depending on lots of different things. But typically anywhere between 5 and 15% of an employee base would use this service. We know that over half have reported that using Togetherall is the first time that they've shared their story about their mental health for the first time, likely because of the anonymity and because of the ease of access. That really tends to resonate with people. We know our members have also said that they don't regularly seek support for their mental health anywhere else. And so Togetherall might be their one sort of platform that they use regularly. And maybe hopefully that sets them on a sort of help seeking behavior, and maybe they go on to other resources, or maybe they have this and this is sort of where all that they need at this time. We have a large student population as well, and so we're reaching a lot of hard to reach younger populations. For example, we're reaching 40% of our student member base identify as being BIPOC, and that's sort of growing, which is great to see. We also do a member survey and sort of check in on what sort of how the resources are being sort of utilized and the outcomes of our impacts. And so we say 93% of those that have joined Togetherall have reported that it's been helpful to their well-being to have this kind of resource available. 83% now feel less isolated as a result of being a Togetherall member, and 80% feel better able to cope with their day-to-day concerns as a result of having Togetherall options available. When we look at NABs specifically, so we've been up and running for a little over 2 months now. I guess March or so is when we launched. So we have 27 members registered with Togetherall so far, hoping to grow that number, obviously, and this is where you can help as well by spreading the word. Majority of the members so far are aged between 25 and 44. Majority identify as female. And we are getting a nice sort of mix of self-identified ethnicities as well. So getting a bit of a mix of people using the platform. How they're hearing about the platform, this is so self-reported, they're sort of word of mouth. So that's likely from colleagues and peers. Social media as well as sort of another big one. So leaning into some of these channels to make sure that we continue to raise awareness. And so just finishing off sort of how you can help. If you haven't done so already, I really recommend registering yourself. It is quick, it is easy, it's free, it's anonymous. You can go in and really dig into some of those conversations, create your own thread, really play around with and understand how the tool works. So togetherall.com/join-now/nabs, easy to do. And I believe this this link is up on your website as well. I'll cross over to Mark at the end here just to add any additional points here. The other piece is just to, help educate others and continue to build awareness. So we have marketing materials that we can share with you that you can then pass along to others. Even things like talking points are some of the key takeaways. So if you're introducing Togetherall during a meeting or something like that, and you want to have just some quick takeaways, we have that prepared for you to try to make it as easy as possible. And if you have your own communication channels, if you have your own social media or you have your own newsletters or things like that where you're interacting with other members, reach out and ask us, ask Mark and Louise and myself. We have content that we can give you that you can embed in some of those channels. And just normalizing its use. Again, once you've registered and you can speak to it to say, yeah, I jumped in, it was easy, and yeah, there's lots of topics, or I used it. Just that idea of, yeah, I'm using it, and you should check it out if you're interested. If you want to bring this demo or a similar demo back to your own specific employee groups, absolutely welcome and happy to do so, whether that's Mark or myself. We can always bring this back. We did say, again, this is a recorded session, so we'll make sure that gets shared around. But always, if you have a meeting or you have an event or something like that where you want to showcase Togetherall, more than happy to support you with that. So with that, I'll stop talking. I've talked your ear off. I'll open it up to any questions, and I'll stop sharing my screen.
Victoria, could you provide a little update on how the French Togetherall site's coming along? I know you and I and Mark were chatting before we welcomed everyone to the session, but I think that would be really interesting for the people that are with us today, so that they kind of have a sense of the timelines and all the different work that you're doing behind the scenes to bring it to us in French.
Yeah, great question. Yes, so right now the platform is English only, and where we're moving is to replicate this in French. So by the end of October is the timeline that we're aiming for, to have this whole platform and this whole peer experience available in French. Now, a couple of pieces just to understand why sort of that timeline and why it takes a little bit longer than you might expect. It's not just the content, so articles, courses, the translation of those pieces isn't the hard part. It's we want to have enough of a peer member base using the platform that can speak French and interact in French, so that if I joined and I chose to write in French, there's enough French members that could respond. So it's more building up that member base of French speaking users than it is the actual content itself. So one piece is the community piece, and the second piece is making sure that on the back end we have all of our clinicians, our war guides, have bilingual war guides, our risk management, all of that portion, the safety element and portion, is also ready to go and ready to respond in French as well for that community. So it's by definitely something that we've been looking at and wanting to get done, and we're really thrilled that sort of before the end of this year that will be up and running.
Victoria, it's Jay. I noticed in the categories they tend to be negative. I don't want to use that word, but they tend to be problems. Can you go to Togetherall to get positive messages?
Yeah, no, and that's probably the ones that I pulled out as well.
Okay.
So definitely there are ones that are sort of parenthood and happiness and
Okay.
student experience. So it's definitely not meant to be geared towards the negative.
Okay.
Of course, you still have the ones in there that are, anxiety, depression, stress. But no, there's trying to have, to your point, sort of that equal mix. And absolutely, we do see some really, positive posts as well. Just the ones I sort of pulled out were sort of more general. But even, for example, I saw one going into the Christmas or the holiday period at the end of last year. Someone had kind of said, hey, I just want to stay in touch with people and have, a distraction over the holiday period. So they actually created a group thread and said, hey, let's stay positive, and if you're interested, join this group and we can share one positive thing each day, or one thing that we're doing over the holiday period. And so you had a bunch of people sort of saying, yeah, I'm going to take up a new exercise routine. I'm watching this movie series and I'm up to episode whatever, so doing some really general things. the beauty of it is that people take it in all sorts of different directions. You'll also see that those category tags, that just helps us or helps other people find the types of threads, but you'll see how people, title the post can be anything and everything. And so there might be things that don't quite, neatly fit into one of those categories, but people are still posting about it and people are able to find each other. But great question.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Victoria.
Hi.
My name is Alan, and you know what? I really like the idea of anonymous peer-to-peer support in the community dashboard and how wall guides moderate the conversations. My question is, can participants privately message each other? And if yes, how do we ensure, safety and privacy of everyone?
Yeah, great question. And thanks for that feedback. I'm glad it sort of resonates with you. One piece of that, so where I showed you, you can create, so you can create a written thread, sort of a general thread that goes onto that wall and everyone can see it. You can create a brick and it goes to everyone. And there's one that's called a group post. And so that's where, as you use the site, you can actually invite people to join a kind of a separate conversation, if you would. You still are searching by their anonymous username. So say you and I, we bond over a particular topic and maybe we realize we have a similar lived experience that we want to get into a little bit more detail on, but we don't want it to be sort of that full public view. I could invite you to join a conversation and then you and I could have sort of that back and forward thread. Now, it wouldn't be seen by other members that aren't invited to join that, but it would always be seen by a wall guide. So wall guides see everything for safety and moderation. It's just you have that ability to decide whether it's a full public kind of post or whether you want to connect with some specific anonymous other people that you've now connected with. So yes, there's a mechanism for that.
And are you able to block, participants or users?
Yes. So our wall guides, yeah. So part of their moderation piece as well is to, is to educate, is to, facilitate discussion. Unlike something like a Reddit or a Facebook where you could get trolls or you could get people that are deliberately offensive, derogatory, that couldn't happen on this platform because the wall guides are able to remove content and reach out to the member and say, hey, that's not appropriate. You as a regular member can also report to our wall guides if you come across something that you find offensive, derogatory, or you're worried about someone. You read something and I'm worried about this person. There's a mechanism there as well where you can flag it to a wall guide. You're not involved from there on in, but you've just said, hey, I've come across something. I wanted to put it on your radar. And sort of gives you peace of mind that you've played your part in keeping the community safe and supportive. So yeah, so there's mechanisms in place where it couldn't spiral out of control and it couldn't have someone that's deliberately abusing the platform, because we would be able to step in, and at the far end we would be able to remove their license if they continue to sort of abuse the platform.
Thank you.
No worries.
Any other questions for Victoria? Awesome. Victoria, thank you so much for that. Actually, I want to apologize to everyone for letting you in a little bit late. That was on me, that I had some technical issues on my end. So I will circulate the recording of this session to everyone who attended and everyone that registered for the session. And then we encourage you, once we get it up online and have it hosted online, we encourage you to share that link as well so that people on your teams can retrieve it and watch this session and educate themselves about the platform.
Quick question, Mark. Sorry, it just occurred to me, will there be any comms coming from nabs to anyone in our roles to say, this is sort of the introductory paragraph that you'll use for communications out? And fine if there's not, I just thought I'd ask before, because I know Kylie's on the call with me and maybe Ashley. I know that they'll love this as much as I do. I think that this is an amazing platform giving people voice. So we'll get it out quickly, but I just thought I would check in case anything might be coming from you guys.
Yeah, definitely. We'll package up everything that we have. So templated communications that you can use internally, assets that you can use and repurpose for your communications. And we'll have that all in one email so that you have everything that you need to repurpose and send out to your teams.
Perfect. I also wanted to mention, when we move towards the French language opportunity, happy to bring someone from my team out of Publicis into those conversations. We have one of the largest kind of operations in Quebec, and I think that it would be great if someone on my team there could sort of be one of the first, kind of on board to really kind of test and have an understanding of how the site is working and the moderation and all of that kind of stuff.
Agreed, and that's very appreciated. And I think as one of the companies that we've rolled out LifeWorks with, and we're in constant communication, you'll be the first to know when we're ready to go.
Beauty.
And I think, Lindsay, to Victoria's point too, having someone that's got a big presence in Montreal is really going to help us build this community there. I think Togetherall is going to be like gangbusters in Montreal, given what we know about the community and how they like to access supports and talk to one another. So we would love to have your support along with Valerie as well. And anything we can do, Victoria, to like proofread the Quebec French or help you as you continue in your planning. We definitely have some really key resources there that is going to help.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for flagging that. Absolutely. As we sort of get closer to that time, I can foresee a few different things. It'll be, this is available, jump in and have a look. We are working with a French-speaking company to obviously do a lot of this work. So it's not, it's not just us. We're sort of outsourcing a lot of our French piece. But like Louise says, it's really building up that member base. We have to start somewhere and get that member base up. So, just really getting some of that early adoption and getting those groups, and then just feedback. Would love to hear how it's resonating with that group. If there's particular, content that they're looking for that isn't there, maybe that's something that we can develop. The nuances, that we want to make sure we get right. So absolutely, that's fantastic. Please do, stay in touch, and I'm sure through Mark and Louise we'll reconnect. But yeah, stay tuned. It's coming soon.
Excellent.
Thanks so much, Victoria. And if no one else has any other questions, we'll close the session out. And as I mentioned, we'll circulate a copy of this recording after the session and host it online so that you can forward it along to your teams as well.
Great. Thank you all. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.